The year was 1930, and I had pea soup for dinner again, for the fourth day in a row. My brothers and sisters were all grumbling because we were hungry and we didn't want pea soup again. My brother was the breadwinner of our family. At only 14, he was providing for us. He asked Mom if he could keep the 50 cents. He had a plan to make more money than that. Mom let him keep the 50 cents. He headed for the candy store and bought 25 copies of the next morning's newspaper at 2 cents each. He headed for the theater. Step right up, ladies and gents, for the greatest show you will see tonight. He leaped in a tap dance routine he had taught himself. He'd sold every paper not for 2 cents, but for 10. A few generous patrons even rewarded him with a quarter. The next night, it was clear that his plan had worked. Mom had fixed us a juicy leg of lamb with all of the trimmings. We were thankful for our brother's plan and that the pea soup would be saved for another day.
Feed sacks help stretch the family budget. I couldn't afford many things during the Depression. I knew there would be plenty of clothing for Mom and I from the empty feed sacks. The sacks provided many things for us, for example, PJs, tablecloths, and much more. Also, when Mom didn't like the pattern, she wove it into a rug. The factory sewed the sacks together with cord that was very useful. The sacks were very precious to the farm wives, and when they didn't need them, they saved them anyway.
My family lived in southeastern Colorado. I remember making do. Making do means I reused cartons and I grew things because we didn't have any money to buy anything. My grandmother sent me a coat when I was 2.5 years old. It was too big on me. It first fit me by the time I was in 5th. A couple of months passed and then it was Christmas. I was excited to open my presents. I finally got a new coat that I didn't have to grow in. When I was in high school my freshman year, the 6 of us high schoolers in my neighborhood put some money together and bought a Ford sedan. There was no school buses, so that's why we bought a car. We had to pay $3 per month, which was about 10 cents a gallon. There were 6 of us who bought the car, 3 boys and 3 girls. The girls had to sit in the back seat and the boys had to sit in the front seat. I had to walk a mile down the road to meet my friends in the car. We were late a lot to school and our teacher got mad at us. On cold days there were no heaters. Once the car ran out of gas, the boys had to walk to the gas station and get a can of gas, and the girls had to walk home on the railroad track. We had great times in that car. I grew up in the Depression. There was one night that was very special to me and that I will remember for the rest of my life. My brother and I were playing outside waiting for our dad to come home. Finally, we saw him. He had an excited look on his face. He walked up to us and said, "Let's go, kids. We need to hurry and eat dinner so that we can go to the movies." I ran to our apartment to tell my mom. When my dad walked in with my brother, my mom said, "Willie, you know we can't go to the movies. We won't be able to buy food for tomorrow." "Oh, come on," my dad said. "Tomorrow we'll worry about tomorrow. And besides, tonight's bingo night. We could win some money." After we ate, we walked to the theater. I can't remember what we watched, but after the movie was over, a big board was brought out with cardboard over numbers, representing how much you get if you choose it. The first person to get a bingo would go up and choose a square. I was watching Dad's progress when Mom yelled "bingo." Dad grabbed her arm and told her to pick the one on the top left. She told the lady, and there was the amazing $10. My mom screamed so loud that I had to plug my ears. $10. Amazing.
During the Great Depression, movie matinees were the highlights of our lives. Mom always told us to stay for the second show, just for the free babysitting. There were either cliffhangers or usually a Western. The other one might be a musical or a film of the featuring, or maybe a tearjerker. One of the famous stars was Shirley Temple, but my favorite was Ginger Rogers and Fred Astaire.
The movie projector broke down several times, so we stomped and clapped and yelled, "Put a nickel in it," because we thought it made the repairs go faster. After we memorized as many of the lines as we could, we would leave the theaters and recreate the movies. We would charge a penny admission and come to watch, and we would earn enough to go to next week's
Matinees. The movies sparked our imaginations and gave us something to reach for in our lives.
My parents sacrificed for my favorite show.
When we were kids, we grew up on the farm. All of us had one prized possession. It was a battery-powered Philco radio. We tried to save our battery power because the batteries costed over $4, which was an awful lot of money in those dark Depression days. My favorite program to listen to was called Lux Radio Theater. But one day, my mom called us all in and told us not to turn on the radio because Dad wanted to listen to the weather and the news, and the battery was running low on juice.
After Dad listened to the news and the weather, he turned it off. All of us 9 kids were waiting and praying to listen to the magnificent obsession with Merle Auburn. Since we got done with our chores and homework, Dad let us turn it on, and it was just starting. Yes, we were just in time. We'd turn on the radio when the program was on, and we'd turn it off when the advertisement came on. Such programs were great fun for us kids in those harsh times. We knew the battery would give out after that, and it did. Our parents gave a daily sacrifice for us and saved up all their money and able to buy a new battery. For that, we greatly respected our parents.
I remember when my aunt first moved to Alabama with the first radio. Over 75 people came to listen to the 4-hour Grand Ole Opry program in my aunt's house. I remember helping them move every stick of furniture into a different room so they would have enough room for everyone. The poor loved listening to the radio for entertainment. My aunt loved knowing that she was helping the less fortunate.
When the Depression was in full swing, my friends and I would run errands for 25 cents so we could go to the Palace Theater on the weekends to watch our favorite play.
Back in the Depression, 2 hamburgers were 10 cents.
Sometimes after the play we would go buy hamburgers, but sometimes we would skip the hamburgers and buy a model airplane kit instead.
We'd get up early to cut out the balsa wood parts before church. Later after lunch, we'd lay out the pieces on the breadboard.
After we finished attaching the pieces, we'd put the plane together. We'd cover the plane with tissue paper and spray it with water. After it dries, we would fly it.
Most of our planes survived their flight, and when they survived, we would hang them from our ceilings.
Back in the Depression, things were much harder than they are now. But we always looked forward to Saturdays in the summer because our family would get to visit the neighbors when we went into town. It was always fun taking baths in the wash tub before going to town. When we got to town, our father would give me 10 cents for the theater, only if we could afford it that week. Occasionally, he would give me an extra nickel for a hot, yummy, buttery bag of popcorn. When we all went home after a long evening, we were so tired. We were so glad when the Depression was